If you are willing to kill another living, breathing human being just because they look, believe, and think differently than you, you need to start questioning yourself about the causes of your passionate beliefs and ways of thinking. Ideally, conflicting or even non-conflicting but different groups of people should be looked at with unbiased, non-prejudicial, and non-discriminatory ways because of spiritual respect for each other. The first reality is that belonging to another, opposing, or even your own groups means being human, including yourself. Each human being individually should have a clear vision of personal strength to see the politics of belonging behind our actions. If you passionately hate others and are willing to engage in extreme behavior just because your group says so, you need to understand your own strength as an individual. Your ability to use free will and possess a personal sense of justice should help you carry out your personal responsibilities in mortal life. Why do you have free will and a personal sense of justice? If these came with you from before birth, it means they are meant by God. So, ask yourself, why are you still passionate enough to kill over your belief systems? If you don't care, refuse to take personal responsibility, and are willing to blindly follow the politics of your group, you are essentially intoxicated by the politics of belonging and are unable to be what you have been created as. If you ignore your status as a human being and become a warrior ant or worker bee, you are not the CEO of your own life. This intoxicated behavior is like alcohol, even if it is the alcohol of God. With free will and a sense of justice, you should know that you should drink it socially because being drunk means you would, or at least are willing to, commit spiritual crimes. Anything related to God is spiritual and compassionate. If your actions are related to the political agenda of your group, before you act passionately for politics, remember your spiritual compassion. Always remember, no matter how you look at it, if your group uses God politically, it is spiritually wrong. If you believe that you follow God according to your politically tainted religion, you are responsible for finding your personal and spiritual path. If you are drunk with the politics of belonging, which would diminish your strength to have a social drink and lead you to commit spiritual crimes without needing to be persuaded, your religions are making you stuck on the brand name, not the real essence. The true essence of being religious is that you seek spiritual awareness, yet you lose your way halfway because your judgment has been tainted by whatever politics your religion advocates. Metaphorically, all human beings, while alive, are bottles of God's alcohol. Whether you believe in God or not, you are labeled and take pride in that label. If you understand individually and spiritually that this label is all about the politics of belonging, you could take pride in being a religious fanatic or even an atheist. The real essence inside you makes you the vessel of God, but you are so convinced that you are just part of the group you belong to that you have no particular value as an individual. Now, let's examine the anatomy of a group. It's a collection of individuals, meaning that anything done by the group is done by the individual or individuals. So, even in a group setting, an individual is the foundation of the group. Who is responsible, and how did the individual become so insignificant? It can't be solely the group, because an individual has free will, so they must be a willing partner. An individual who willingly collaborates is so important to a group that a group can't exist, and even God can't function without them. So why does an individual feel so insignificant and worthless? Keep asking yourself until you find an answer that helps you understand your value, because nothing happens without you. This should be enough to give you a self-respecting, self-esteem boosting, CEO-making answer. If you are told that you belong to the body and nothing more, your personal understanding is limited because of the politics of your group. Lack of understanding is like the bacteria in your gut. If you don't understand with your half-knowledge, you are going to destroy it, only to find that bad bacteria help you live healthily, and without it, your immune system is compromised. If your understanding is that you are helping God by following the politics of your group, you must try to understand the whole picture before you take personal actions. It's like I said before, killing bacteria without knowing their benefits to the body. Our knowledge only evolves when we explore and pursue. If any knowledge discourages exploration, it opposes evolution, and anything against evolution opposes God's will, or metaphorically speaking, our body. As human beings, we have earned the right to live and survive on this earth because we have evolved to adapt. Otherwise, we would have been wiped out by infections. Whether religions or not, we have survived through exploration and the will to survive. The simple truth is that our exploratory nature to evolve is directly connected to God and meant by God. That's why religions could not stop humans from evolving, despite their strict rules, severe punishments, and threats of excommunication. If you disagree with me, that's fine, but I don't see religions and our constitutions as the ultimate human knowledge. I personally leave room for evolution because I believe it is sacred and spiritual. Certain things we bring along from before birth, so they are spiritually connected to each of us individually. Whatever story you believe is good for you, but believing that you are somehow better than others automatically contradicts spirituality, because spirituality has no politics. All human cells work for the body and are useful only when the body is functioning and alive. You are a part of the body, and being a part of a body is still a story of a part, not the whole story. If your group preaches that you are the best and closest to God, it fundamentally makes you prejudiced and discriminatory, even against your own family members who don't think like you. First of all, you don't understand how the whole body works, and second, you don't truly believe in God because you believe only in what your group tells you. Judging others based on the knowledge taught by your group is a biased opinion and is tainted with politics. Religions and nationalism provide false self-esteem to individuals, which helps to some extent. Even a gang member has better self-esteem than a lonely individual who doesn't feel connected to anyone or anything. Awareness of God grew stronger with religions, but since they exclusively emphasized belonging to a community, just like nationalism, they were good for some people but not for others. That made him, and they still are, preachers of prejudice and discrimination. In God's spiritual world, there is no prejudice and discrimination. It's all about humanity as a whole, just as spirituality or cell connection is to the entire body. It's not for some, it's for all. A belief system has the power to help an individual, even if it's imaginary. It has powers like the placebo effect. Deeply held beliefs have helped human individuals become better than mere savage creatures. Compassion, forgiveness, sacrifice, and love are proof of our evolution. We have been evolving for a long time, but it has taken a toll on the individual's belief system. Religions used God as a political tool to control individuals' thinking, sometimes even by force. From mob killings to passionately shunning their own kind or even killing family members, these are clear examples of religious extremism. Trust, hope, sacrifice, giving, and love go hand in hand with belief systems, and the opposite flourishes with disconnection. Unless an individual develops a deep and personal connection to God, they don't need to belong to a group to feel safe. Passing human knowledge to future generations is important, but locking them into it as the ultimate knowledge is absurd. Our religions and constitutions are designed to do just that, and followers neglect to consider human beings' evolving nature. It may have been great for one era, but we change all the time, so what worked in the past may not work today. Religions and constitutions need to have room for changes and amendments, otherwise, they can harm rather than benefit humanity. From state disputes within a nation to religious sects and divisions, to wars between different religions, all stem from the evolving demands of daily and individual life. Religions and constitutions can give us manifestos, but they should all be subject to change with evolution. If they are not, it's human nature to break the rules. That means anything restricting humanity is against human beings' evolving nature and will always fail. Our evolution is a clear sign of our ever-evolving nature. Our politics of belonging and our evolutionary nature have brought us to a point where, by choice, we can create a day of reckoning that is foreseen religiously. A nuclear war, even if localized, can bring about a day of reckoning like destruction. Personally, I believe religious belief should not be more than a spiritual path. When mixed with the politics of belonging, it not only loses its spirituality but also takes individuals to extreme views. We remove compassion from our personal abilities and become passionate extremists just to work against compassion. It's talked about a lot but not practiced by present-day religious individuals tainted by politics. Unfortunately, for passionate individuals, it's hard to separate our spiritual belief systems from the politics of belonging. Even educated individuals struggle to fight against the politics of belonging. In today's world, if an individual asks a personal question to a mullah or a priest, they often look to the past for answers. Humanity has been referring to the past for present problems, but in this era, the way things are going, it would be more problematic if we don't keep up with the times. Interestingly, humanity is changing so rapidly today that we can't keep up with these changes, but we must be able to use our beliefs to help us adapt. By holding on to our traditions and faith, it helps us as humanity. Otherwise, it doesn't matter to a few extremists. If you think you somehow become better than others just by belonging to race, gender, nation, religion, or even by attaining an educated degree, it is related to false and non-spiritual education. Spirituality teaches us to be humble and not to think of ourselves as better than others because, in reality, we are all cells of God's body. Working for it, we all have certain tasks and are useful to the body, so claiming that you are better can deny the reality of mortality. We all have the same destination and job to reciprocate in return for our living years. Interestingly, our races, religions, and nationalisms all preach that you are better than others just by being part of that group. What our future holds for us with all this divisive preaching of prejudice and discrimination can be fearsome. Our obsession with advanced weaponry is an alarming trend that points towards self-destruction in the name of religions and nationalism. Our authorities have been, are, and will always work against individual strength because of their political control and governance. If you personally buy into that, you start to look at yourself as weak and vulnerable, someone who doesn't have a say. With free will, a personal sense of justice, and ingrained spirituality, a human individual is equipped with a choice. Our groups only succeed by making us think poorly of ourselves as weak and inferior. If you become the entity you were created as, you will become a free and independent decision-maker and the CEO of your life. Only then will you be able to see your direct connection to the source and the politics of your belonging groups. Remember, if even God's physicality depends on the human individual's physicality, how important you actually are in the larger scheme of life. This spiritual and physical connection should automatically make killing each other wrong. Regardless of which side you are on, it is a net loss for God. Even if it is one functioning cell at a time or its insignificance, it is still a loss. Definitely, it can't be spiritual. It is political, even if your religion or nation says it is done in the name of God. They are using God as a political tool, and God can't defend God, so it has to be the aware individuals. We should all move beyond the sense of belonging related to politics and learn to own our personal actions because we are blessed with free will and a personal sense of justice from before birth. Everything we do as adults, we have a say in, so it is our responsibility. If you want peace in society and to eliminate all criminals, come out and say so in the name of justice and control. If you want revenge for your lost love or want your territory back from invaders, come out and say you are doing it for political purposes. Don't use God's name to kill cells of God. It not only looks bad politically but is also spiritually beneath human intellect. Recognize what and who you are. You may look like a human being with one head, 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, 2 ears on the outside, but in reality, you are much more than just a physical body. First of all, no matter how you see yourself, scientifically, genetically, and spiritually, you are a human being. Your color, gender, nation, or belief system does not describe you spiritually. Spiritually, you carry the same entity within you, are made of carbon scientifically, and are an exact genetic match regardless of all the differences. Our identities of being different from each other are all related to our politically indoctrinated knowledge. Certainly, we need politics and a sense of belonging, but using God's name to kill each other is absurd and beneath a spiritual being who lives within each one of us. When religions became infected with politics, it tarnished the name of God. I would like people to become spiritually aware, one individual at a time, so our mass changes collectively from the bottom up. What God is and how God functions can have vastly different and conflicting answers, but spirituality can teach us where a human individual stands in this grand scheme of life. In turn, that can help us learn to belong to humanity as a whole, just as a cell belongs to a whole body, regardless of its specific part. Since God is our catnip or alcohol, we are all bottles of God. Unfortunately, we have our brand names for God to fit into our pigeonholes and make God a human-like figure, powerful, almighty, but human-like, favoring some and hurting others. Personally, I disagree with that because if God is a spiritual entity, God can't be biased, non-spiritual, or political. Always remember, a seed does not resemble the plant, so we may be mistaken about the whole thing. I am not here to argue about who is right. My passion is to help every living human being emerge from their pigeonhole and learn to use God-given free will to stop this nonsense of killing each other over our differences, yet in the name of God. Unfortunately, the phenomenon of a sense of belonging is much more powerful for a human individual. They feel inferior and insecure because mortality is not understood and is therefore feared. So, worshipping God is compartmentalized, yet it is basic and fundamental as reciprocation. Since God does not need any help, and certainly not your obedience, because if that were the case, we would be like other creatures, God needs us to help physically to make spirituality meaningful. Since we are all God's cells, turning spirituality into physical reality requires helping the individuals around you. That is the real worshipping of God. Nurturing God's cells is real worship, or prayer. Everything else is traditional and ritualistic practices that all religious groups promote to bring people together, so it is still related to politics, not real spirituality. A lack of belief in belonging directly to God Almighty makes people attach themselves to belonging groups as if they are the whole thing. Logically, it makes them not believe in God. Remember, as I said, if 2 cells in the arm or leg are talking, does the body exist or not? A group may seem real, but it is just part of the body, not the whole body. Relying on the group for security is political. Spiritually speaking, that group just can't provide security from the third circle, read Circles of Life, and Part 2, Storm in a Teacup. Some may say we can only do what we learn from our belonging groups, but I believe we all bring along our free will and sense of justice from before birth. Knowing that helps us understand reciprocation. Naturally, we tend to gravitate towards or feel obligated to reciprocate to our belonging groups and to God. We are even willing to commit spiritual crimes if our politics of belonging are out of control. This is where our free will and personal sense of justice take a backseat, but not listening to these spiritual inner voices can harm us individually. PTSD can become a reality. If we are spiritually aware, we would see clearly to the point where we can separate the politics of our belonging groups from our spirituality. If you see yourself only as the body and brain, your life may lack fulfillment or seem incomplete. If you cannot add spirituality to your day-to-day life, it may seem like sex without love, eating without nourishment, receiving without giving. Thus, a mortal life is lived with discontentment and without spiritual fulfillment. If you feel spiritually empty, you may try to achieve fulfillment by fitting in or impressing others, or you will die with a desire to be admired by others. This is the wrong path for spiritual fulfillment. It would be like working or living in a toxic environment where you lose happiness and contentment, especially on a deeper level. Killing innocent beings for the approval or admiration of your belonging group is a clear sign of lacking a personal sense of justice and of misusing free will. As human beings, especially evolved ones, we all possess the knowledge of how to use our God-given free will and personal sense of justice. If in this day and age, we cannot use these gifts of God, we are spiritually bankrupt. Unfortunately, we find the spiritual side of ourselves useless, and it is all because of our powerful and brainwashing politics of belonging to our groups. Justifying terrorism or counter-terrorism related innocent killings is especially related to this human individual weakness. Personal sense of justice and use of free will are human individual strengths. They can not only make us aware of injustice but also help us understand how an individual is not limited to belonging to a body part or a group of people. We all, as individuals, belong to humanity as a whole, just as a cell belongs to the body as a whole. As I wrote in Part 1, we don't just belong to an arm or a leg. We are physically connected to the whole body or humanity as a whole, and spiritually, we are connected to God as a whole, not to any particular religion. Our religions and nations are like arms or legs. Believing that you are connected to a group of people, nations, ISMS, or religions is a lack of individual spirituality. If your race, nation, or religion asks you to go kill innocent people for us, you, as a human individual, should have enough spiritual strength to use your God-given free will and personal sense of justice to decide for yourself and own your decisions. It is your duty to understand the politics of your belonging groups and your ability to say no to injustice simultaneously.